Let's start with the one that just came out yesterday. Everyone's talking about it. The reviews are crazy. One of the biggest remakes of the year, and I think that's going to be true right alongside like Resident Evil 4. Dead Space remake is going to be up there as like the biggest, re-release or remake of the year. So tell me what you guys think about Dead Space remake. The reviews are stellar. What are you guys thinking so far?
Well, it takes place in space, and there's a lot of dead things.
So the title is accurate. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well said.
Or are they actually undead? I mean, what do we constitute necromorphs? Like, are they undead?
I've never constituted a necromorph myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, they're humans that have been turned into like alien type things.
Is it because of mushrooms?
Undead Indians.
Oh, that's Last of Us. My bad.
Yeah,
So
space
they're
mushrooms.
still alive.
Space mushrooms.
So this is. I'll just kick it off. This is my first time playing Dead Space. Like I.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I started it on the 360 a couple times. And then after I played Callisto Protocol, I really wanted to play it, so I booted up on PC. I played like 2 hours. I thought if you go back and play the game, especially on PC, because you can play it in 4K, 120 frames per second, it plays good. It's not really a dated game. It's a little janky with the controls, like they're super loose.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't say this game was necessary. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have made this. I think they did a phenomenal job, and I'm glad they did it because it's definitely inspired me to go, okay, I'm gonna beat this game. So, as far as how it looks, it's absolutely gorgeous. Like it's like Callisto Protocol was
Derek,
very,
where are you playing
very
it?
good.
PC?
Yeah.
I'm playing on PC.
Okay.
So I thought Callisto Protocol was very good looking, but I actually think Dead Space is better looking. I think the reason why I like it better is I think the lighting's better, and it seems like it's just more like flashy. Like whereas Callisto Protocol had kind of like more of a film grain look to it, and it had very bland coloring. This is like the contrasts are very like you can really tell like it gets super dark, but then when it's bright, it's got brightness and the reflections and the lighting and the shadows, everything is really, really well done.
Much sharper, it seems like, from the videos I've seen. Just a sharpness to it compared to Callisto.
And then as far as controls go, again, coming off of playing it on PC, playing a couple hours of the original Dead Space, they definitely fix the looseness. Like this handles like a top of the line third person shooter.
Yeah.
They just nailed like literally everything. So I'm in chapter 8 of 12. I've put in like 6 hours today. I'm killing.
I didn't realize you got so far in it. That's awesome.
Well, that's because I'm not wearing a shirt. I'm not moving. I'm
he
staying
wasn't talking
indoors.
all day in chat. He was in it. He was
not moving. I'm not wearing a shirt.
He was in.
I'm gonna guess that it doesn't smell great in Derek's space.
It does not. It is definitely a Dead Space and Derek Space. But so I got really far. I should probably beat it by tomorrow. That's my plan.
It's not long.
It's not a super long. Yeah.
Is it difficult? Like on normal settings, is it a difficult game?
Well, I'm not playing on normal. I don't play horror games the first time through on normal. That's the only game that I won't start on normal. Horror games, I'm like, nope, nope.
It's got a good amount of ammo thrown at you, so I'm playing on normal. There are moments where when you're trying to line up the shots on the limbs and they're throwing like 2 or 3 enemies at you, and you're like, ah, shit, you get a little overall. I'm actually surprised. There's a lot of enemies coming up behind me. I don't know if I remember that being an issue or not an issue, but like as common originally. I don't know if it's like something they're trying to make me do in this one to more spooky more. Like, oh shit,
that was one of the things before. Again, of course, the game came out because the reviews are amazing. A lot of like diehard Dead Space fans were freaking out. I don't remember what the technology's called, but the creators that were redoing Dead Space were using some new technology where it was going to add enemies and it was going to be more random, and people were freaking out.
It's a director mode, like Left 4 Dead, where it's like reading how well you're doing, and if you're doing really well, it's going to throw a little more at you. If you're not doing so well, it might pump the brakes a little bit on you, but not in a way that you're ever supposed to really notice. But it offers like a randomized, like if you die and load into a section, supposedly that section should be different this time. So if you're expecting someone behind you this time, there might be 2 in front of you or something like that. So
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that seems to be maybe what is happening. Because
So I would say there is, for certain players, there are more enemies, and yes, they are coming from behind. I've got grabbed multiple times from behind. The sound design's really well. I'm not playing. I do want to play probably tomorrow the rest of the game in my 3D audio headphones. I'm not doing it today, but I really think the sound design, like, holy crap, dude! There's just so much noise and for any good,
what is it, like whispering of the like
yeah,
the distant, like kind of
even his heartbeat.
Yeah.
If you're in like a quiet place, like after like a bunch of action, you'll hear his heart racing and he's like panicking. So they really nailed, like, literally graphics, combat. This game already had. I knew the story going into it, so I'm not gonna be like, oh my god, wow, that happened. But I already thought that the Dead Space story was really good for a horror game. Like, I like some Resident Evil stories, but for the most part, they're kind of lame. This actually
How
has.
dare you?
Yeah,
they can be pretty silly.
they get really. I mean, Resident Evil 4. Good lord. I mean, come on.
There's some
The whole
silliness.
plot
There's some
is
silly
ridiculous.
goosery going on there.
Yeah, but this one actually has a really good plot that if you don't know the outcome, you it's not like it doesn't. There is no cutscenes really. I don't think there's really. Yeah, there's a few, but you're not bombarded with a lot of cutscenes. But you're getting a lot of information. There's a lot of dialogue with the characters, and so if you're following, they're throwing out subtle stuffs. And so if you're following, you're kind of like, oh, okay, I don't know really what's going on. But as you progress through where I'm at, where you're like 2/3 through, you start to piece together that this isn't random, that this is, there's something bigger going on here. And it's not, like I said, it's not that one of those stupid things in most horror games where you're like, okay, that was just dumb. Like, that whole mystery was dumb. They just went ridiculous. This actually, I think, has a cooler setup for the second one. So I think the lore and the overall universe and story for the Dead Space games is what I think also sets it apart. But the main thing I have to say that they absolutely nail is the whole setting. And this is where I would say, as somebody who just played like Callisto Protocol failed. Like, I see a lot of what Callisto Protocol was trying to do to mirror Dead Space. Like, now I really see it. I'm like, oh my god, you were just making Dead Space. But
Or trying to.
Yeah, trying to, but you didn't do it as good, because to me it just did not have the spooky, like, there are times where you have to shut off the entire lights where you're at, and you can only see if you're pointing your gun, which means you're walking very slowly, so they're already setting the atmosphere. And then you have all the noises, and those things are making noises all around you.
Yeah.
You don't know where they're going to come from. They mix with the ship. So there's been several times where I've gotten shot like 100 times, and I'm like, where the fuck are you, dude? I don't know where you are. And it's one of those like little midget ones that are just shooting like acid spikes at you.
Do you mean
and
the babies or the
is
baby?
That where you wish you had a directional thing like God of War had that you didn't like? Is that where you kind of wish you had that a little bit?
No, because I think that would make the game too easy. I just it's more of a compliment where it's like these guys just fit into the lighting, everything, and all you can go by is sound. And then you are getting hit, so you got to pay attention to how your character gets hit. So how does he react? Like, if he's doing that, then he's probably getting hit from over there. So, in my opinion,
doesn't sound
they nailed
very
everything.
accessible. That's all I'm saying. I mean, if you have to have sound to play the game, whatever. It sounds like you're loving it though, man, which is awesome. The fact that you're that far into it already, and Dan, I know you're playing it as well, right?
Yeah, I'm a couple hours in.
What are your thoughts on this game?
I've heard there's like certain things that are new with the game. I don't know if they mean like story elements or tweaks or just like
all the above of what you said. Yeah.
Okay.
Some story elements, some tweaks,
things that people hated. Yeah.
Yeah. They even said that they connected it better to the second game with some of the stuff that they're added in this one.
I mean, I haven't played the original cool. Like front to back in a long time. Like I remember, I think a couple years ago, I plugged in my PS3. I was like, hey, let me like I'm in the mood to play Dead Space, and I got like to chapter 2, and then I was just kind of like and then something else, maybe a new game came out, and then I started playing that. Yeah, Dead Space. I love Dead Space, the very first one. It's my second favorite horror game. If I was to, rank
What's your first?
Resident Evil 2.
2. Okay.
Yeah, 2 would be my favorite. I love the setting of this one. I love the claustrophobic atmosphere of this one with the Ishimura, and then like it's just this kind of like almost like tube-like ship that you're just on this tram and you go down it from section to section, but then you do go back to previous sections and things are getting like more like everything's morphing and changing and getting like more twisted because the necromorphs are sort of starting to spread out throughout the ship and everything. So it's like it's becoming more horrifying because places that were like safer in the beginning, when you go back to them, it's like, oh, that's not the case anymore. So so that's terrifying. But yeah, I love just the simplicity of like, oh, these are just the way you kill these enemies is you're specifically cutting off their limbs, but like because of the design of the plasma cutter and the other weapons that you're getting, like you're having to pinpoint your attacks in that kind of fun way of like, again, aiming for certain limbs and stuff like that. And I don't know, there's just something really fun about that. It adds a little extra layer of just simply being like, oh, just shoot them in the head or whatever, or just shoot them a bunch. It just adds that kind of extra fun to it. Like Derek said, everything about the lighting, the audio design is fantastic. Visually, it does look amazing. I was trying to think in my head if it did look better or not as good as Callisto. In my head, I feel like Callisto maybe did look better, but I guess I'd have to go back and check again. I guess I don't have
on PS5, Dan, for this one.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it looks phenomenal. So by no means is it like this looks like a 7 and Callisto is like a 10 or something. Like, I think in my head, I was like, it's very close, but I'd have to have it side by side.
I've heard there's virtually no loading screens. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't
seen any now that you.
I haven't gone onto the tram.
I haven't had any loading.
Okay, yeah, because I know you get on the
maybe
tram.
Maybe some clever loading like the train, right?
Sure, it's probably clever because like on the tram, all you see is like this arrow moving, like showing you're moving, but you're just sitting on the ship. Like there's nothing, like you're not seeing anything. You're probably loading the level.
Otherwise, when you're in a section, like there's no like you're just going from section. Because again, it's not like a huge game. It's pretty linear. And again,
spaceships, those corridors, so it's not like
everything looks very
similar
or
anything like that.
It gets very confusing for me.
Does this game have big boss battles in it? I never played it. Is this a big boss battle game too? Does it have big boss encounters?
I fought a couple, 2 or 3 bosses.
Okay. Like, is it like a unique thing where it's creative and there's stages? Is it okay?
And since I was new to the game, I didn't know he was a jerk like that, so I had wasted a bunch of ammo on him. He kept coming back, and then there was a couple other that I fought that were.
I'm remembering now. There's one I think I'm gonna come up because I haven't gotten onto the tram for the first time yet, but I know there's a point where in the beginning of the game you get on the tram, and then I think you get to like sort of like the main like command area, the front of the ship or something. Does that sound correct, Derek? Do you remember that, or you got on the tram for the first time? And okay, well, there's like I think there's kind of like a bigger fellow, like one of the bigger fellows you find in the ship. So yeah, I remember that boss fight, and then in my head I actually do remember like the very last one, which is actually pretty insane and pretty cool.
Yeah, cool.
I won't be too specific about that one, but that one's pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah,
it's very Resident Evil, just on a spaceship.
Yeah.
So Kyle, you're playing it too. This is a game you're already a fan of, the original.
Yeah.
What are you thinking so far from what you've experienced in the new one?
Yeah, I mean, it was a nice reminder that, I mean, I played a few hours of Callisto Protocol, and like I would never call anything in that game ever scary for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I've maybe screamed aloud 3 times, and like not like a girl, like like it'll get a little rise out of me, and like the hairs will stand on the back of my neck, and I'm just like, oh yeah, this is what this is supposed to feel like, and I don't know if Callisto Protocol ever did that to me one time, so. And I'm only in the first hour and a half of the game, so...
Yeah, Callisto Protocol wasn't very tense. This game's very tense. Now, granted,
very tense.
I think it's more tense if you play it on normal. Me playing it on easy does take away from the tension, but that's my fault. But somebody else who's just playing on normal, and you know the enemies are more powerful and they can literally destroy you real fast, it adds a lot of tension to this game. There's a lot of tension to it.
Makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. So before we move on to the next game, do you guys think a game like this, and maybe you have to finish it to really know for sure, is this the kind of game that you'd be like, yeah, this is a brand new experience in 2023, or it's like, no, this is just the best version of something that already existed? Like, does this feel like the same game, just really pretty and easier to play, or is it kind of Final Fantasy style almost, where they really remade it?
For me, it's probably a little more in the Final Fantasy department. Okay. I feel like there's enough quality of life changes to the controls and stuff like that.
Or like Resident Evil 2 maybe is a better example.
Yeah, like Resident Evil 2 Remake, I counted as a new experience that
maybe
year.
Those are better examples.
It was from the ground up, redesigned assets.
It was enough tweaks where it's different.
Yeah. So I think Resident Evil Remake 2 is like a very good parallel in terms of how to deal with this, at least in my mind.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think Resident Evil 4 will fit that as well. Like Resident Evil 4 is not going to be exactly how we remember Resident Evil 4. There's going to be improvements. There's going to be changes to.
Which
I'm hoping they're actually going to f with the story a little bit.
Me too.
But anyways, that's basically what they've done here with Dead Space. Does it still feel like you're playing Dead Space? Like, is it that significant of a change? Like, to me, I don't think it's as big of a jump as like Final Fantasy VII.
No.
That's a huge jump,
but closer to Resident Evil.
Step up,
but it's definitely like Resident Evil 2, and I mean, I wouldn't personally have a problem if somebody's like, this is going to be in my top 10 for 2023. I wouldn't be like, no, you can't count it. It's an old game. Like,
it seems like there's enough about it that it's a new experience, like the Resident Evil.
It's a new experience.
Yeah, I mean, they rebuilt all the assets, so like it's as new as can be. Just it definitely follows. Yeah,
I mean, this is clearly a corpo money grab. But
it's a waste of resources for sure.
They could have made Dead Space 4. I mean,
they could have. No, but no one said they wanted to waste resources on
Of course.
On this 9 out of 10 game.